Hello there, Lunar Squadron, welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to our episodic breakdown of LEGO Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga. As you guys know, in our most recent trailer of the game, we received a breakdown of 3 episodes in the game, Episode 1, Episode 2, and Episode 4. Last time around, we broke down all of the levels and details hidden within this storyboard for Episode 1, and today we're going to be doing the exact same thing for Episode 2, giving you guys all of the cool new details, locations, vehicles, and characters that we see throughout this storyboard. But before we get into that, we do have a brief message, don't we, Nick?
Yep, we sure do. If you are all new to the channel, we would love to have you as always, and the way to do that is just go down below this video, hit that little subscribe button, and the bell notification right on next to it. It will notify you every single time that Andreas and I upload. Now, usually here we would throw it to our official sponsors, either Bosk or Grievous, but instead I actually want to take this opportunity to plug our official Discord server. If you have not yet joined our Discord, you should definitely consider doing so. We have a great time. There are so many great people in that. We've really built an awesome community there. It's a great opportunity for you to get to know us and for us to get to know you better. Andreas and I are incredibly active in this Discord server every single day. We really have a great time. So if you've not yet joined, please do consider joining. The link to join that will be down below in the description. Now, with all of these formalities taken care of, let's go ahead and jump into this breakdown of Episode 2.
This is Lunar Squadron standing by. We are ready to make the jump to hyperspace. On my mark, Lunar Squadron.
Alright guys, so like we said in the intro, we are here to talk all things Episode 2 from the most recent storyboard in the Developer Diary trailer. Now, this will kick off with the main intro sequence. This is very similar to how Episode 1 kicked off. It looks like we will be getting an intro cutscene for pretty much every episode in this game. Makes a ton of sense. And this will just be the same sort of intro that we get for Attack of the Clones, the actual Attack of the Clones film. And then the first pre-level of this game is actually Padme arriving on the Coruscant landing pad in the Federal District as a decoy, posing as a Nubian starfighter pilot. Now, the most interesting thing to note about this picture, there's actually 2 things I want to talk about here, Andreas. First, we get confirmation of a Padme appearance as a Nubian starfighter pilot because she is not on the Nubian Royal Starship that blows up. I'm pretty sure that is the charred remains of that Nubian Royal Starfighter there in the background. And second, one of the things that I've been talking about over the last few weeks is I was worried about the day-night cycle for Coruscant in the Federal District, it being locked to that twilight time in the Federal District, but here we actually see an overcast Federal District, which is exactly what it is like in Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. So we do know that at least within the story mode for this game, that the weather patterns, or at least the overall look of the Federal District, will change to match the environment of the film. So those are the 2 cool things I really noticed from this first thumbnail.
Now, as for the second thumbnail, unlike Episode 1, where you're going to be doing, a lot of those pre-levels first, in this episode, you're kind of going straight into a main level for this game. I'm talking about Level 1, Assassination. We know that this level will see us as Anakin and ObiWan chasing down Zam Wesell as she is running away throughout the skies of the Uscru District. One important thing to note out here is that Zam Wesell appears to have a life bar. You can see that in the top of the screen. What this indicates is that this is going to operate somewhat like a boss battle where you are going to have to take down her ship. One thing that I also noticed was that you have a life bar as well. You can see that down towards the bottom of the screen, indicating that Zam Wesell isn't just going to be running away. She's going to be shooting back at you. And one other thing I wonder is, are we going to be able to skydive just like Anakin does? I don't know. That's just the one thing I've always thought of in this level.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a really cool point. Like you said, it really stood out to me that this won't just be a chase sequence. This will be some sort of boss battle, and this is just like the first level for Episode 1. We thought it was just going to be escape or a chase, but it actually looks like you will be fighting Zam Wesell off, and they will be shooting back at you because you have a life bar. So just adds another level to this main level. One thing I do want to note before we jump into the next thumbnail, Andreas, is a lot of the beginning of episode 2 will be covered by, it looks like, cutscenes, or that pre-level on the Federal District landing pad is going to be very extensive, because there's a big gap in the film between that landing pad sequence and this chase through the streets of Coruscant. Just something I noticed. So either cutscenes or it's going to be a very long pre-level.
Another thing to note, and this is going to lead us directly into the next thumbnail, is, as we all know, that chase between ObiWan, Anakin, and Zam Wesell ultimately ends at the Outlander Club. We know that this is where, ObiWan does disarm her and then they pull her outside. We do see in the next thumbnail that this appears to be that same bar, the Outlander bar. However, this is on the inside. So it kind of leads us to speculate as to whether the first level of this episode, Assassination, is going to end within that Outlander bar or just outside of the Outlander bar, which is ultimately where Django Fett shoots her with the saber dart, or if that whole sequence in the club and outside of the club is going to be in a pre-level, which is what we see here in this next thumbnail. Either way, we were both, kind of speculating that the Outlander Club would be in this game just based off of footage that we have seen from the Uscru District to date. And it's just good to see that this is some confirmation that you will be able to explore this club in the game, which is very cool. I love that we're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that. I love the neon look of it. I'm just so excited to run around Coruscant. Now, obviously, the next thumbnail is within the Jedi Archives. However, there is a big moment in Episode 2 that is not here on the storyboard, and that is Obi-Wan going to Dex's diner with the Kaminoan saber dart to find out that that is indeed a Kaminoan saber dart. So my question to you, Andreas, is how do we think Dex's diner is going to be handled? Because we know that Dex's diner is not within the confines of the Federal District or the Uscru District. It's actually within the Cocoa District. So are we getting a third district, or are they going to handle it via cutscene, or what's going to happen here? We have to visit Dex's diner, right? Like it's a Lego Star Wars game.
I mean, it would only make sense. We do know that Dexter Jetster is in the game. We did see him on that character list, so the only way that he would really be introduced into this story is, of course, at his diner. You're not just gonna, meet him at the Outlander bar. I do think that we can either expect this game to kind of steer us towards the Cocoa District, or maybe, who knows, they'll kind of rewrite things so that, maybe Dex has opened up a new location of his diner in the Uscru District. Who knows? I mean, it is known that the Jawa juice is enjoyed by people throughout the galaxy, so why not stop people in the Uscru District from enjoying his delicacies, Either way, we do know that we have to talk to Dex in order to find out that that saber dart is actually from Kamino, which ultimately sends us where?
Well, then it sends us back to the Jedi Archives to figure out where the hell Kamino is. Obviously, that is going to be what this pre-level will be covering. Just another confirmation that we will be going to the Jedi Archive. We did see it in the most recent Developer Diary trailer. And then we're going to jump into the next few pre-levels. I think it's important to note here, and we mentioned this in our breakdown video, that all of Kamino is going to actually be covered by pre-levels. These are not main levels of this game. The next main level is actually the hunt for Django through the asteroid belt of Geonosis. So the entire Kamino section is going to be handled in pre-levels. And this thumbnail of the Kamino interior is the first real footage we've gotten of Kamino, which is really cool. We see some Kaminoans. We're not quite sure if that is Lama Su. We don't really think it is. It doesn't really match his appearance, but we do know it will be populated by a native population, just like every other planet will be in this game. And then the very next thumbnail is the Django boss battle between Obi-Wan, and it appears you will also be fighting off Boba Fett in Slave 1. It's going to be a little tag team fight. Just like the complete saga, it will be incredibly annoying, I'm sure. Now, the one thing I do want to note here, Andreas, is actually Obi-Wan's appearance here on the thumbnail is different than the gameplay trailers we've gotten so far. In the gameplay trailers, he is wearing that painted on Jedi robe with the rain on it, and in here, he's just wearing his Jedi robes. I'm thinking this is just probably these thumbnails are from an older build of this game, and they had not made that stylistic choice yet, but just something to note.
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense that you would make these storyboards earlier on in that creative process. just to kind of map out, the progression of levels in this game. And to those of you who are disappointed with the whole Kamino sequence being pre-levels, I would again encourage you guys to stay open-minded about the entire concept of pre-levels in this game. I, for one, actually do think that doing this section of the movie in a pre-level context actually makes perfect sense, because I would much rather, be Detective ObiWan in an open world on Kamino, kind of poking around the facility to find out what's really going on, rather than, being guided through an on-the-rails segment. I think that just kind of fits to the whole Detective ObiWan theme much better here, so I'm not too disappointed about that at all. However, interestingly enough, they do choose a rather interesting main level for this game, which is up next. Another chase sequence, this time the hunt for Django, which is going to be a chase within the local space of Geonosis. You are going to be using ObiWan's Jedi Starfighter from Episode 2 to chase down the Slave One. You know that you're going to have to dodge a few seismic charges in this one as you bob and weave your way through asteroids, just scattered throughout the exterior ring of Geonosis. Ultimately, this battle may culminate on the actual surface of Geonosis, or it could, culminate with just the end of any altercation that you might have, where you ultimately lead Django on to believing that your Jedi Starfighter has been destroyed, when in fact you are safe and sound hiding behind some asteroids. However, we do know that the next sequence in this game will be cutting to a more romantic area, won't it?
Yep, just like the film, we are going to be cutting back to Anakin and Padme and their adventures across Naboo. Now, from this thumbnail, we see the streets of Theed leading up to the palace. We see the two arches in the background. Nothing much to take from there. And then the next thumbnail, I just want to mention this, is actually a mistake made by TT on this storyboard. This is actually a thumbnail from Episode 1's Mos Espa that we saw in the previous storyboard. Now, we can assume here, just based off of how the film goes, that this will be where Anakin and Padme arrive at Mos Espa, and they go to Watto looking for his mom and all of that from Episode 2. Now, Andreas, the next thumbnail obviously has no picture, but it is one of the biggest points of discussion that we had before we put this video together, because there are two possible things going on here. One, this is going to be Anakin and Padme running around the homestead and just having, fun little innocent missions. Or there is a much darker thing that could happen here, isn't there?
There absolutely is a darker way that TT Games could take this one, and I hope they do, because who wouldn't want to run around as Anakin Skywalker, being the absolute weed whacker that he is, dealing with a tribe of Tuskens? Anyway, the next mission here is going to be in Geonosis local space, and there are also two options for this one as well, right, Nick?
Yeah, there sure are. So, because the next thumbnail is not entirely clear if this is ObiWan or Anakin and Padme, we're not quite sure, there's not much to take from it, there are two possible options here. It will cut back to ObiWan after his fight with Django, and you will be in local Geonosis airspace. You will then land on Geonosis, and then you will do your little Detective ObiWan spying work throughout Geonosis before ultimately being caught and interrogated, I would say, by Count Dooku. More like asked to help. There was a very weird scene in that movie, just as an aside. Or the other option here is it stays with Anakin and Padme, and then they arrive in the Nubian royal ship in local space in Geonosis, and then they make their way through the surface of Geonosis into the next main level. Now, to me, Andreas, this second option makes the most sense, just because the third main level of this game is actually Geonosis Infiltration. Now, this will most likely be just a reimagination, very similar of the original level from the complete saga. I expect it to be very similar, just because there's not much difference you can do with this sort of level, since they've picked this sequence from the film to be a main level. Now, the one thing we do get confirmation here of is that this main level will feature a mixture of both side-scroller elements, and because we've seen footage from this level of Padme shooting Geonosians, we know it will also feature that third person over the shoulder, so we're going to get a mixture of gameplay here, which is pretty cool.
And then the next thumbnail that we do see is actually super interesting. This is something that we never really got to see during the movie, and that is Mace Windu on Coruscant, presumably heading to Kamino or rallying up the troops that lay on Kamino, whatever it be, kind of steering those troops toward Geonosis to ultimately rescue Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme. Again, we do know that he does so with Master Yoda. Maybe you're going to be, playing with Master Yoda in this mission, your two characters being Mace and Yoda. Nick, how do you see this one playing out?
No, honestly, I am incredibly excited for this pre-level. When this storyboard first dropped, this was like the first thing I noticed was you were going to get to run around as Mace Windu on Coruscant and rally the troops. Now, the only thing we saw in the film was that Mace Windu and Yoda and the Jedi Council were aware of the issues on Geonosis, but we never actually got to see them rally the troops. So TT Games here is actually going to get to touch a part of an episodic film that wasn't shown on screen. So they get to go wild with this. I'm really, really interested to see how this sequence plays out. Now, obviously, we know what is going to happen next. If you've seen episode 2, it is the Geonosis Arena or the Petranaki Arena, the next main level of this game. Now, Andreas, I believe you actually have a theory for how this level is going to go down because we have seen a lot of gameplay, at least brief gameplay, of this Petranaki Arena sequence.
That we have, Nick. We definitely have seen kind of once, everything goes buck wild in the arena. However, here we get kind of an earlier look at what we can expect for this level. We do see, again, that boss battle life bar with a very short name on top. We do see, Anakin fighting a Reek. So I am totally expecting the Reek to be a boss here. And what more is, in the right side of this shot, we can see the Acolyte, which, if you guys remember, this is what ObiWan was fighting in the Petranaki Arena. The Acolyte, of course, being a native species to Felucia. And then we also can maybe expect to see Padme, or actually play as Padme, against the Nexu, which is the third of the wild beasts that are kind of running amok in the Geonosian Arena. And then ultimately, we do know that we are going to be rescued by Mace Windu, Yoda, and Co. as they do usher in the clone army to rescue the day, which is where we are ultimately going to be headed towards our next thumbnail.
That's right. And the next thumbnail is actually still within the Petranaki Arena. And the interesting thing here is we're not entirely sure what exactly is going on in this thumbnail. We do know it's another pre-level. Will you have to battle your way out of the Petranaki Arena to then trigger that cutscene that you see from the gameplay overview trailer of them chasing Count Dooku across Geonosis over the Battle of Geonosis to ultimately catch him before he escapes? We're not entirely sure here. Now, there is one thing I do know you wanted to mention, Andreas, before we move on, so go for it.
That is correct. I think one thing that we do see here is a new location. We already knew that we were going to go to Petranaki. However, Stalgasson is the capital of Geonosis. This is the main hive of Geonosis. And so this is just maybe another location that we can expect as a landing location for Geonosis as a whole. So perhaps we will look forward to Petranaki, Stalgasson, and then maybe, a third other location being where we ultimately do have that face-off in the next and final main level of this episode, the Battle of the Jedi. Nick, how do you think this battle is going to play out in this game?
So I actually think that the final main level here, the Battle of the Jedi, will actually be multiple stages here. And this first thumbnail, it appears that you will actually have to move your way throughout this location to get to the main showdown with Count Dooku, and you will be battling battle droids along the way to get to that main area before he escapes. And then you will arrive at that location, and you will ultimately trigger the boss battle between Obi-Wan and Anakin and Count Dooku. And we do know that this will actually be a multi-stage boss battle because we have seen the footage of Yoda then taking on Count Dooku after Count Dooku has incapacitated both Obi-Wan and cut off Anakin's arm. So it will be a multi-stage boss battle where you will actually play as possibly 3 separate Jedi, which is really cool. Really fun, creative boss battle. But I do know there is one other little thing that we noticed from this thumbnail.
That is exactly right, Nick. We do see a return of that mysterious stamina bar or QuickTime event button or button mash interface, whatever it is. We do see it again. The first time we saw it was in the boss battle between Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Darth Maul. Here we're seeing it again with Anakin facing off against Count Dooku, again in a saber lock. The fact that we see it in saber lock both times around kind of makes me think that this is a button mash. We just have seen button mash with saber locks before, so I would not be surprised if this made its return yet again, or who knows, it could be something more innovative that we've never seen before. However, it is cool to see that Anakin is using his green lightsaber, which is the one that he picked up in the Petranaki Arena, just like in the movie. Another cool note here is I am hoping that you will be able to dual wield lightsabers as Anakin here. That would just be a very cool touch that, I would like to see just to, play out that entire battle. It's just one of the cooler moments from that lightsaber duel, so I'd love to kind of play through that. And with that, those are all of the levels for Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. What do you guys think? What are some of your highlights here? Some moments that you are super interested to play out? Some things that you want to know whether or not they're true? Honestly, for me, what I'm wondering about is, will we get to go to Dex's Diner and drink some Jawa juice?
You want a cup of Jawa juice?
Oh, yes, thank you.
That is very important to me. Nick, what of these kind of events are you most excited towards playing through?
I'm personally most excited again for that Mace Windu pre-level, just because that is something we never got to see in the film, so it looks like we're going to get to experience something new from the Attack of the Clones. I think that is going to be incredibly fun, and I'm really excited to see how TT handles that whole little area where they get to do their own little spin on it.
Yeah, they really do get to sort of write Star Wars in a way, which is just another kind of example as to how this game is going to be bigger than just a Lego game. This is going to be an incredible Star Wars game, period. Something that we can all look forward to. However, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, we will see you all next time.